Evening from Manchester, New Hampshire, on a very busy political day throughout the United States. President Obama just finished a press conference at the White House where he discussed a range of issues, including raising of the debt ceiling, funding for Planned Parenthood, and Hillary Clinton's comments criticizing his Syria policy, which the president dismissed. He said there's a difference between being a president and a presidential candidate. The big topic, though, for the president as well as for the country was the shooting in Oregon yesterday and the question of gun control and gun safety. I'm here today with Cline, who was until this week the editorial page editor of the Union Leader, the biggest newspaper here in this state. We're going to talk about politics, and we're going to show you the day we spent with presidential candidate John Kasich and a live interview with Governor Kasich here at his brand new headquarters. But first, everybody running for president today has been reacting to that horrible shooting in Oregon. That includes Florida Governor Jeb Bush, who today in Greenville, South Carolina, said this.
Look, stuff happens. There's always a crisis. And the impulse is always to do something, and it's not necessarily the right thing to do.
At the White House, President Obama was asked, how would you react to Governor Bush? This is what the president said.
I don't even think I have to react to that one. I think the American people should hear that and make their own judgments based on the fact that every couple of months we have a mass shooting. And in terms of, and they can decide whether they consider that stuff happening.
Drew, the lines, as they usually are after these horrible incidents, have been drawn pretty clearly. The Republican candidates are all, Donald Trump, Jeb Bush, and others, saying basically now is not the time to look for government action. The Democrats are calling for the kind of gun measures that they've called for. Does this shooting, given the timing of the presidential race, you think change the debate on politics of guns?
I don't think so. If Newtown didn't change it, right, then I don't think this one does. I mean, these shootings are tragic. They're depressing. They're frustrating. I think a lot of Americans share the kind of frustrating reaction Obama had. But then you have to take that into the halls of the legislature, the point of which is to cool it down and get into a rational debate. And once that happens, then it changes.
Public opinion polls suggest that the president's position is more popular than its valiance in legislatures in Congress and around the country. If you were running for president in 2016, would you rather have politically a position closer to Hillary Clinton's, who wants more gun control, or somebody like Jeb Bush or Donald Trump, who's saying, this is upsetting, but this happens, there's not much you can do?
I would not want to be running for president in favor of gun control. I don't think that's politically popular broadly across the United States, despite the shootings.
Right. Does it surprise you then that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, if he runs, are all aggressively going to be supporting some gun control measures?
No, of course, because it plays to their base, right? I mean, it's a divisive issue, and for Democrats, it's a popular position. You don't want to be necessarily running in a Democratic primary saying, hey, no gun control.
Right. So in the general election, would you suspect that whoever the Democrats nominate, they'll play it down?
Not too much, no. I mean, I think they're going to want to be very divisive. You want to rally your side,
right,
and that's what they're going to do.
Right. Okay. Last night on Fox News, House Speaker in waiting, Kevin McCarthy, tried to clarify his comments from earlier in the week about the Benghazi Committee, politics, polls, and Hillary Clinton.
I wasn't saying that committee was political. That committee is solely to get the truth out. What had happened within the truth, you found out about a server. It was never my intention to ever imply that this committee was political, because we all know it is not.
Inspiring, not inspiring, clarifying, not clarifying? Well, here's what the leading candidate for the Republican presidential nomination, that would be Donald J. Trump, had to say about McCarthy's statement when I asked about it this morning on MSNBC's Morning Joe. Should he be Speaker of the House?
I would like to see somebody that's very tough and that can negotiate with the Democrats, and I don't know that he's that person. We need somebody that's a very, very tough, smart, cunning person. I don't know that that's him, and obviously this statement hurt him pretty badly in the eyes of some, unfortunately.
Also fanning the flames of doubt about McCarthy was conservative stalwart Bill Kristol. He tweeted that a handful of Republican committee chairs in the House are better prepared than McCarthy is to be Speaker, and that not only are Republican members of Congress very concerned about McCarthy, but that he's, quote, well short of the 218 votes he'd need to be Speaker. There are other attempts out there still, it appears, to find someone else to get into the race. So, Drew, given what McCarthy said there and his posture, do you think he's digging himself in deeper or climbing his way out of the hole?
We just had 2 segments that featured a recurring problem in the Republican Party: inarticulate Republicans. You're going to be Speaker of the House. One of the biggest frustrations with Boehner is that he didn't fight, right? But the other huge frustration that doesn't get enough attention is he didn't speak. He couldn't articulate a Republican
what was
message.
the name of his title?
The name Speaker, right?
Yeah.
He could not articulate a conservative message to contrast with Obama.
But he also didn't make a lot of mistakes.
Well, right, because he didn't say anything. And you got to rally people to your side. You don't want another speaker who stumbles over his own tongue.
If McCarthy becomes Speaker, as it still appears he will, is he going to be successful?
Well, way too early to say, but it's not a good sign when you come out and say something that dumb as your first big moment.
Was the way he tried to back it up, basically saying...
No, it didn't make it any
Didn't make any sense,
No,
right?
It didn't make it any
What
clear.
should he say?
He should have never said the thing in the first place.
Oh, I know, but having rung the bell, what does he say now?
Well, he says, look, the point I was trying to make is that we were investing her in a legitimate investigation, and you know, it showed that she is not trustworthy because it confirmed.
Right.
This, but he can't.
McCarthy better hope that Boehner gets debt ceiling and some of these other issues off the table, because I think if his speakership starts with this and then trying to get these tough issues done without Nancy Pelosi's help, he's going to start in the speakership in a very bad place. All right, Drew Hampshire, this is your state, and while we did spend the entire day with just one of the Republican presidential candidates, John Kasich, which we'll show you in a bit, there are 14 other Republicans running for president. So, Drew, what is your overall take now where the Republican nomination fight stands here? Who's got a good chance right now?
In New Hampshire, I feel bad saying this in Kasich's headquarters, but right now, Fiorina looks very good in New Hampshire. Rubio, I think his trajectory is great in New Hampshire, even though he's low. I think Ben Carson, people are really interested in hearing Ben Carson. And Kasich's kind of
You didn't mention Trump, who's leading.
Yeah,
didn't mention Bush.
No. Bush has a chance. Bush has a chance.
Why would you say Fiorina has a better chance than Kasich?
The excitement. People have seen her communicate. They connect with her when she speaks. That's powerful. And they want to come to her events.
You say Rubio. I hear people in Iowa say Rubio, South Carolina, some of these other places, and yet his poll standing isn't that great. People complain he's not here very much.
That's right.
What leads you to believe that he's got a chance to catch on?
Because when you talk to Republicans about who do you like, who are you more interested in seeing, Fiorina's name comes up, Rubio's names come up.
They're interested in seeing Trump, too. They see him all the time.
Yeah, but when you talk to real Republican voters about who are you narrowed it down, right? Who are your top 3, top 4, his name constantly comes up.
Chris Christie, any chance to come back here?
Yeah, he's absolutely got a chance because he's so good with crowds.
So
he's so good
you
at
don't
retail.
rule out that Kasich or Bush could win the primary, right?
No.
So basically you're saying there's 8 or 9 people who could win the primary.
Yeah.
Here we are in October.
Yep.
Primaries in February, 8 or 9 people could win. We've never had anything like that.
No, it's really
Is
weird.
it possible, do you think, that somebody's going to surge to a big lead?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's possible, but I don't know that they will. I mean, I wouldn't say a big lead.
Right, okay. Drew Cline, thanks very much.
Yeah.
Coming up, a day in the life of John Kasich, specifically this day, and this John Kasich, right after this. We're back here in Manchester, New Hampshire. John Kasich's brand new campaign headquarters, his first day here. We spent the whole day with him doing some campaign type stuff. What's that like, you ask? Today it started with a morning visit to the hotel gym in Concord.
This feels quite a bit staged, you know. I will make sure you don't run into a wall. Yeah, my understudy, Pastor Boy, dude. Is it cold outside? Never seen you with a tie before, Halprin. How's the weather out there?
Do you know your schedule right now? If I asked you what you're doing today, do you know? Or you just go one by one and ask the staff what you're doing?
I have a semblance, but I couldn't direct you.
Where are we going now?
I know we're going to go see Gordon Humphrey.
Yeah.
I know we're going to do that. I know I'm going to announce a program on Syria. And then I don't know where we're going.
All right, go get your endorsement. We'll see you there.
Thank you. You know, Doug, guess who won the football game last night?
Steelers.
They lost.
Oh, my God.
In overtime.
Is that what you predicted?
I did. Is this the LOB right here? Would you like really brilliant, too?
It's my pleasure and honor this morning to join Senator John Sununu and Peter Thompson and so many other public officials and private citizens around the state in extending my endorsement to Governor John Kasich of Ohio in his campaign for the office of president.
This is a big deal to have Gordon Humphrey and, of course, Peter Thompson. And this morning, I would like to call on the President of the United States and the leadership in the Congress of the United States to create sanctuaries, safe havens in Syria, perhaps along the Jordanian border, perhaps along the border with Turkey, where we would create no-fly zones.
Governor, Halprin is going through your old files in Ohio. Do you think that they're seeing you as a major threat now?
Well, you know, what was interesting to me is they're kind of bragging about being in my library. Now, I have a library in Westerville, at the Westerville Library. It's really cool. They kind of set up my old congressional office, and now they have material from me being governor and all that. And I love when people visit that library. I just never expected Bush people to be directed to that library, but they're saying they're having a lovely time. And I would think that they're in there because they're getting nervous, but when you're trailing in places like New Hampshire, where John Sununu's built a great team, and you're not doing so hot in other places, of course they're going to go looking around at who might be the mature adult who knows how to reform and fix things and be a leader rather than an administrator.
Who would be against the no-fly zone? What's the argument against it?
Oh, it would be provocative.
Yeah.
Provocative.
Wouldn't want to make Assad mad.
Well, wouldn't want to make the Russians mad because they might fly their plane in there.
Have you met Putin?
No, I never have.
What do you think of him personality-wise from afar?
Oh, I think he's a little bully, is what I think he is, and I think he will push you as far as he can until you say no.
You're out here, obviously you got a couple endorsements today, that's good, but how do you sort of score a day on the trail? Like, what makes it a good day?
You know, for me, there's two ways in which I determine we have a good day, and we've had a lot of good days. What I see with my eyes and what I feel with my gut.
What have you already eaten today? You had some fruit. What else?
Eggs.
Eggs?
Yeah.
Fruit and eggs?
Yeah.
How many calories do you think you'll eat today?
I don't think about it.
When will you eat next? Thinking about that?
I'm not hungry right now. Where are we and what are we doing there, Kevin?
Hey, Governor.
Oh, a town hall. Oh, good. You go and then, well, she's young. She's got years. Not that you don't have years. Here we go, Halprin. See? Screwed it up already.
Both in your presser and there, you did a little flick at former governor of Florida.
Well, I mean, they're in there, bragging that they're in there investigating me. Come on. Seriously?
Doesn't your campaign look at other candidates' records?
I don't think we've done, none that I know of at this point. I don't think so. We're certainly not going into their libraries or something and archives. And I guess, at some point, I guess we'll probably do that. But, it's kind of, it's a little early for that. Maybe not.
When you do that, before you did that today, did you check with anybody on your team, or that's just all Kasich's instinct?
No, I didn't check with anybody.
Yeah. So what are the 3 hardest jobs you ever had?
It's always the hardest thing for me, and I guess in any job, is when, I think I'm sort of born natural to be, I think I was sort of born or raised or whatever to sort of be a leader. And whenever I'm in a position of where I can't lead, it's really hard for me. What's interesting about this process is it's almost like training to run, a race. The more you do it, the more you get accustomed to it. Here's what I said today.
Governor, thanks for taking us along with the endorsement, workout at the gym, lunch, car rides. Typical day or atypical?
Typical.
Typical. This is what it's like.
It is.
Yeah. All right. We're going to have more with Governor Kasich, talk about issues of the day and some other stuff after this word from our sponsors. Our guest tonight is a dad, a husband, a governor, and, of course, a deadhead. Ohio's John Kasich. Thanks for joining us here in your headquarters, welcoming us in.
I'm not a deadhead. You had to get over that.
Kind of are. Get serious and talk about the gun issue. You know, you're someone who always talks about consensus and bringing people together in your statement if you get elected president. We've sampled what Republican presidential candidates and Democrats said about guns and gun safety, gun control. Where's the consensus between the two parties on how to deal with gun safety and these mass shootings?
Well, I think, first of all, it is all these institutions need to have their security plans. We're trying to push them in all of our schools in Ohio, and sometimes it's hard to get people to do it. There is absolute consensus. Secondly, I don't know what this person's history is going to be, but we have to have better reporting so that the mentally ill can't get their hands on these guns. I think that's a consensus, too. And some beds for people who have an emergency situation where family knows and they can get them someplace where they're not going to kill themselves or kill some others or at least hurt themselves.
If you were president, if you get elected president and you take office and the incidence of mass shootings is as high under your presidency as it has been under President Obama's, how would you characterize the degree to which that would be a priority for you to find some way to deal with that?
Well, I think it's one of many issues, but, you know, we had a school shooting in Ohio, and I was there for a couple days, and it was very difficult. These are unbelievable tragedies, and of course it would be high in the things that we could do, both from the mental health aspect and the ability to not have these kind of soft situations where people have to prepare. Everybody has to understand. Here's the thing, everybody has to understand that it could happen to you. It could happen to your family.
So unlike Donald Trump, Jeb Bush, you think it would be a priority for government, not necessarily gun control, as Democrats support, but a priority for a Kasich administration to find ways to reduce those?
Well, I would, again, Mark, I think that we need to let all the states know what really works. I mean, I believe a lot of what we need to be doing is taking things that work in one place and transferring them to another, whether it's violence, whether it's drugs, whether it's mentoring. I mean, I want to shift a lot of the power back to the states and let the states come up with solutions that can be shared with other states.
You used to be a member of the House. Kevin McCarthy is now running basically unopposed to be Speaker. If you were a member of the House, would you urge current members of the House to vote for him for Speaker?
I don't think that's my place. I mean, any more than I would pick the Speaker in Ohio or the leader. Right. But here's what I will say. I think that he has a good personality. I think he's a guy who does connect. And if he, in fact, is a speaker, there's no doubt in my mind that I would be able to work with him if I'm president.
One of the big things you're talking about as a candidate is your role in helping balance the federal budget when you were chair of the Budget Committee. As a presidential candidate, will you put forward your proposal to submit a balanced budget to Congress in your first term?
Well, I'm not sure how we will do that exactly. We're right now putting an outline together, but there's no mystery in what I do. I mean, I've only written 18 budgets. That's 18 more than you've written. And so if people want to know what my priorities are, they just need to look at my record. But we'll put more and more meat on the bones as we get closer.
Right, but just as a binary thing, you're running as a guy who knows how to balance budgets. If you got elected president for 4 years at least, in those 4 years, would you pledge and would you put forward something now to say to people, here's one of my budgets, this is how you get to balance?
Well, look, I don't think it's going to be done. I mean, to be direct about it, anybody who says it can be done in 4 years or whatever, they really don't know what they're talking about. Because this is a process. Probably in the early years, you'll see a little deficit increase because of the need to cut taxes and to rebuild the military. But the most important thing is to have a legitimate plan that shows you how to get there over time. And that's what I would do as the president.
Could you guarantee the American people, if you were president for 2 terms, for 8 years, that by the end of there would be?
We'd sure be. Again, I don't want to lay out specific years because I don't want to have to eat my words. But it's a high priority for me. Here's what I know. If we can have a legitimate plan to get us onto a balanced budget, coupled with economic growth, the economy would begin to take off. That's what I've done in Ohio. But I also know that any of the specifics I roll out there will probably be used as a club by some to beat me over the head. And you can do this, but you have to be smart in the way you do it. And you want to be measured in the way you do it, and you don't want to make big, bold predictions because you'll usually not be kept.
But doesn't that, to some extent, someone could say that kind of undermines one of your big things? You say you know how to balance budgets, and you're sitting here telling us today 8 years, you might not have a balanced budget.
We might have it. You know, I don't make promises that I can't keep. And I did balance the federal budget as one of the chief architects. I also got the budget balanced in Ohio. So, no, I think what you're looking for is credibility. I think I have credibility when it comes to fiscal discipline, making hard decisions, dealing with entitlement programs. So I'm going to send you, I won't send you all 18, but I'll send you 4 or 5 of my budgets, and you can examine them. And I'll be glad to come on and talk about how we do it. Look, you know why outsiders are doing well now? Because politicians make promises and they don't keep them. I am going to commit this. We will be on a strong fiscal discipline. We will deal with entitlements. We will deal with the tax code. And we will ultimately have a roadmap that will take us to a balanced budget and begin dealing with the deficit.
Crazy cycle, 17 candidates, 15 candidates, lots of uncertainty. Can you be the Republican nominee if you don't win the New Hampshire primary?
I think I need to exceed expectation. What I need to be able to do is do better than how you think I'm going to do. So whatever you predict, if I can do better than that, then I'm on a roll.
A little bit better.
Isn't that true? See, I got you answering questions. That's pretty good.
I'll pass. Are you more confident you're going to be the next president of the United States than you were when you got in the race?
Yeah, I feel very good about where we are. I do.
Are you the favorite, underdog, in the middle of the pack? Where do you see yourself now?
Rising. And I'll tell you, this is the interesting thing. You can have people that can rise real high. The question is there anything underneath that rise in the polls that can give you the support and the strength? That's what I think we're building, particularly here. Somewhat we're beginning to build in Iowa. But the key is not just to kind of float to the top with nothing underneath. We're building it from the ground up, and it's getting stronger and stronger. And you look at all the people now that have endorsed me today, the great endorsement from Gordon Humphrey that brings a lot of conservatives. It's very, very important. John Sununu, the Karl Rove, they say, as you called him, the Karl Rove, the Kasich campaign. I think we're building strength, and we're building it a little at a time, and that's how you do it, Mark. That's how I've done it all of my career.
Okay. All right, Governor Kasich, stay with us. We're going to do something fun right after this. John Kasich, Governor of Ohio. This is his Manchester headquarters, state headquarters, opening today. The governor's going to go out and greet a throng of people. Governor, have at it.
Okay, thank you.